Hey there, this is your host, and today we're going to talk about how to break your lease in California. Breaking a lease is never easy, but don't worry because here in California, there are some pretty good options to get out of your lease if you need to. So in this video, I'll tell you all about them. So first off, the bad news. In general, if you just change your mind or decide that you want to move somewhere else, you can't just break your lease without being financially responsible for it. Your landlord has suffered a financial loss because now they have to try and find a new tenant. So, in general, if you want to break your lease, you need a legal reason why you're breaking it. The most common reasons are: number 1, you've been called to active military duty. Number 2, domestic violence. Either you or someone else is a victim of it. Number 3, landlord harassment. Number 4, health and safety concerns. And those are some situations where you could legally break your lease without providing any further notice than what your lease requires. But even if you have one of those reasons, always provide written notice. It's better to give more notice than you have to. So if your lease says that you have to provide 30 days notice, provide 60 days notice. If it says to provide 60 days notice, provide 90 days notice. It's always best to provide as much notice as possible. And besides, you'll look really bad if you just up and leave without telling your landlord anything. Keep copies of everything that you send to your landlord and keep a log of everything that you do. When, what you did, who you spoke with, what was said, things like that. That will be important later on. If your landlord is a jerk about it, which some of them can be, then they might try to say that you owe rent for the entire lease term. But that's not allowed. Once your landlord gets your written notice that you're breaking your lease, they are legally required to do 2 things. First, they must make reasonable efforts to re-rent the unit. Second, they cannot demand payment from you for the entire lease term. However, you may still be responsible for unpaid rent until they find a replacement tenant. Also, if you damage the unit, you'll be responsible for that. So if you break your lease and your landlord finds a new tenant right away, then you may end up owing very little or nothing at all. But if you break your lease and your landlord has a hard time finding a new tenant because maybe your landlord is a jerk and tenants are put off by that, or maybe the area is a tough rental market, then you could end up owing quite a bit of money. Also, if you break your lease for one of the reasons I mentioned earlier, then you may have additional claims against your landlord for things like unpaid deposits, which brings us to our next topic. So if you gave proper notice and broke your lease for one of the reasons I mentioned earlier, then your landlord cannot rightfully keep any of your security deposit unless they can show that you owe them money for unpaid rent or for damages to the property. They have 21 days from the time that you move out to return your security deposit, not including any deductions they might make for unpaid rent or damages. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks for watching.